we've all had those moments when we're lying in bed and we have an epiphany, that inspiration, we're going to do something. I have to say, just watching John's presentation, there was an inspirational moment for me, like, wow, these people can do this, I can do this, you know, and just thinking about what I want to achieve. And it could be due to anything, an inspirational presentation, repeated consequences. Ultimately, it comes down to some dissonance between who we are currently and who we want to be, who we think we can be, anything that creates that gap. And motivation in itself comes down to strength of meaning and strength of emotion of the stimulus and the rate of reinforcement. And technology's done a great job of focusing on the rate of reinforcement and the push messages, but we sort of lost some of the emotion. And if we can focus on motivation in its own right and look at the times when motivation's reduced, it's usually when there's a lack of emotion, when there's a lack of passion in what we want to do. And if we can use that as a guide, we can then help create and develop new interventions. One of the main ways we reduce motivation is we focus on the now. We're short-term choosers, right? We're focused on what's in front of us right now, so we forget our long-term goals. And ultimately, what we end up doing is lying to ourselves to reduce that dissonance. We forget the emotional tone of our memories. They fade over time. We forget the process of which we came to a decision to change. We might remember why, we don't remember the strength of the why. And what happens is when we're bombarded by all these triggers in our environment, we become overwhelmed. Our limbic system becomes overwhelmed and we just choose the wrong goal. And what happens is we end up failing. And when we end up failing, that further reduces motivation and it creates a negative feedback loop. Because each time we fail, we begin to lose hope that we can succeed, and it goes over and over and over and over again. And what happens when all this is taken together, it becomes salient in our brain. So the negative feedback loop becomes salient. So implicit motivation studies highlight that salience and accessibility, whether it be in our brains or in environments, is one of the best predictors of outcome, whether positive or negative outcomes. So when we think about developing interventions, we need something as powerful as that negative feedback loop, and how do we create a positive feedback loop to do it? And it's not an easy task, but there are certain ways we can think about it if we're thinking about motivation in its own right. And reminders typically don't work. They work in the short term, but just basic reminders don't work in the long term. You know, tattoos don't work, and when I get to know you better, I'll tell you why this doesn't work. But what about when we have those moments of inspiration and we say something to ourselves? We can now record that. We can now record exactly what we're feeling. We can record the emotional tone of what we're feeling. We can record our facial expressions. We can record a lot. And then what we can do, since it's on our phone or wherever it might be, we can play it back at the times when we know we're losing motivation. So we can use simple technologies to replay those feelings back, not just a simple text message. This is based on something called the self-modeling literature. And it used to be done, you know, in a lab, and you create videos, but now you can do it in your own bedroom. And really, it's just about recording yourself when you're good and replaying at a time when you might be having trouble. And one of the benefits of it is you're really capturing the whole person. You're capturing the whole experience. You're capturing the why. Not only the why, the strength of the emotion of the why. You're capturing who you think you can be. You're capturing who loves you and why they love you. And the literature really shows that one of the benefits is you take yourself in a good place and you replay it in a place where you're not so good, or where, you know, you want to be someone else. And in this situation, if you don't want to be doing that, you need something powerful to replay that. And shame doesn't work, so if you're telling someone you're a bad person if you do cocaine, but if you get a picture of you kissing your son, that might motivate you a little more. Or if someone says, like, "Daddy, I love you," in a message, that could be pretty powerful. There's also feed-forward modeling, where you manipulate something to show someone where they can be, right? So, you know, you want to be 20 pounds lighter, this is what it looks like to be 20 pounds lighter. This is the Hasselhoff app we just created. David Hasselhoff, he's my motivation. But we really see it's done using... overall here, I guess I lost that part. Feedback loops can include meaning, they can include motivation, and with these new technologies, we really can do it a lot.